He was 62 years old, 3 weeks into retirement, and he was about to make a decision that felt completely reasonable. He sat across from me and said, "Hank, I want my money now. I paid in my whole life. Who knows if I'll even make it to 80. I'd rather take it while I can enjoy it." His logic wasn't crazy. Most people in that chair said some version of the exact same thing. So he filed. He claimed his Social Security the month he turned 62. And that one decision, the reasonable one, the one that felt smart, quietly cost him $164,000. He never knew it. His wife found out the hard way. Let me show you exactly how that happens. Because if you're anywhere near this decision, it's the one you cannot afford to get wrong. I'm Hank. For about 30 years, my job was sitting across a desk from people a few years out from retirement, helping them make these exact calls. I'm out of that world now, which means I've got nothing to sell you and no reason to sugarcoat anything. I've watched this Social Security decision play out more times than I can count. Some people nailed it. A lot of good, smart people left enormous amounts of money on the table and never even realized it. One quick note before we start. This is education, not personal advice, and the names and details here are composites, real patterns, combined to make the point. For your own numbers, sit down with a professional. All right, let's get into it. Let's call him Walt. 62 years old, just wrapped up a 35-year career. Decent saver. Nothing fancy. A modest retirement account, a paid-off house, and a Social Security benefit that, if he waited until his full retirement age of 67, would pay him about $2,500 a month. Walt was healthy, but his father had passed in his late 70s, and that number sat in the back of his mind. Why wait, he figured, and risk dying before I collect a dime? He wanted to travel a little while his knees still worked. He wanted the money now, not at 70 when he might be too tired to enjoy it. And here's the thing. That instinct is human. It feels responsible. Take the bird in the hand. But Social Security doesn't reward the bird in the hand. It punishes it. And almost nobody explains why before it's too late. Here's what Walt didn't fully understand. The age you claim doesn't just change your check this year. It locks in your check for the rest of your life. Claim at 62, the way Walt did, and the government permanently cuts your benefit by about 30%. That $2,500 benefit shrinks to roughly $1,750 a month. Not for a year, for life. Now watch what happens if you go the other direction. For every year you wait past your full retirement age, up to age 70, they add about 8%. Wait until 70, and that same benefit grows to about $3,100 a month. Also, for life. Same man. Same work history. The only thing that changed is the date on the paperwork. $1,750 a month versus $3,100. That's a difference of about $1,350 every single month for as long as he lives. And it adjusts with inflation every year, so over time, that gap doesn't shrink. It grows. Now, the objection. The one Walt would have thrown right back at me. Hank, sure, my check's smaller, but I start 8 years sooner. I'm collecting while the guy who waits is collecting nothing. And he's right. That is true. That's exactly why this decision isn't automatic, and why anybody who tells you always wait until 70 is selling you something just as much as the guy who says always take it early. Here's how it actually works. Because the early claimer starts sooner with a smaller check, and the late claimer starts later with a bigger one, there's a point where the two lines cross. A break-even age. For most people, that crossover lands somewhere around age 80 or 81. Live past it, and waiting wins, sometimes by a lot. Don't make it that far, and claiming early was the better bet. So the real question was never, do I want my money now? Of course he did. The real question was, how long do I realistically expect to live, and who else is depending on this check after I'm gone? Walt lived to 85. He sailed right past the break-even. But honestly, that's only half of what this cost him. Now, before I get to the second half, let me deal with the other thing Walt said. Because you're probably thinking it too. Hank, the whole system's going broke. They're going to cut benefits anyway. Better to grab mine now while there's still money in the pot. I hear it constantly. And look, the trust fund does have real long-term funding problems. That part's true. But think it through. If you genuinely believe future benefits might get trimmed, locking yourself into the smallest possible check, permanently, at 62 is a strange way to protect yourself. You're not dodging the cut. You're volunteering for a deeper one and making it permanent. And historically, when Washington has touched Social Security, they've protected people already retired and at or near the top of the age range. The bigger your locked-in benefit, the more of you is shielded. Fear of a future cut is actually one of the weaker reasons to claim early, not one of the stronger ones. Walt had it exactly backwards. Okay, the second half. The part that, even after 30 years, still made me wince every time I had to explain it to a widow. Walt was married. Let's call her Carol, 3 years younger than him. And this is the piece that almost nobody runs the math on. When one spouse dies, Social Security does not keep paying both checks to the person left behind. The smaller check goes away. The survivor keeps the larger of the two. In Walt and Carol's case, that larger check was Walt's. Now, people mix up two different things here, so let me be clear. While you're both alive, there's a spousal benefit. After one of you dies, there's a survivor benefit. And the survivor benefit is the one that quietly wrecks the most retirements. Because it means by claiming at 62, Walt didn't just shrink his own check for his lifetime. He shrank the check Carol would have to live on for the rest of hers. Walt passed at 85. Carol lived another 6 years, mostly on his Social Security, about $1,750 a month. Had Walt waited until 70, she would have inherited about $3,100. That's $1,350 a month she did not have, during the most vulnerable and most expensive stretch of her entire life. The years when one person is running a household alone, and the medical bills don't slow down. So let's add it all up. Across Walt's own retirement, claiming early cost him roughly $90,000 compared to waiting. The smaller survivor benefit cost Carol another $74,000. Put those together, and that one reasonable decision at 62 pulled about $164,000 out of their household for a signature on a form at an age that simply felt right. If this is already making you rethink a number in your own head, good. That's the whole point of this channel. Subscribe and stick with me, because this survivor trap is just one of about a dozen of these, and I'm walking through every single one. Now, back to Walt, because I do not want you walking away with the wrong lesson. First, a warning for those of you who aren't fully retired like Walt was. Some of you are thinking about claiming at 62 while you keep working part-time, maybe to top up your income. Be careful here, because there's a trap. If you claim before your full retirement age and you're still earning above a certain annual limit, and that limit is only a little over $20,000 a year, Social Security temporarily holds back part of your check. $1 withheld for every couple of dollars you earn over that line. Now, the good news is that money isn't gone forever. They recalculate and give it back to you later, after you hit full retirement age. But a lot of people claim early, keep working, and are genuinely shocked when their first few checks come up short or stop entirely. If you're going to keep working, that alone is often a reason to hold off on claiming. Just know how it works before you file. Now here's what most of these videos will never tell you, and it's the most important thing I'll say today. Claiming at 62 is not always a mistake. For some people, it's the smartest move on the board. If your health is genuinely poor, or your family tends to pass early, claiming early can be exactly right. You collect while you can, and you may very well come out ahead. The break-even math works in your favor. If you've lost your job at 62 and the real choice is claiming Social Security or running up credit card debt just to put food on the table, take the check. A smaller guaranteed income beats sinking. Survival today beats optimization later. Every time. And if you're single, with no spouse to protect, that entire survivor problem I just walked through simply does not apply to you. Your decision gets a whole lot simpler. It's just you and your break-even age. Walt fit none of those. He was healthy. He didn't need the money to live on, and he had a wife who would very likely outlive him. For Walt, waiting was never about squeezing out a bigger number for himself. It was about protecting Carol. That's the piece he never saw. Now, the obvious pushback. Hank, that's fine, but I'm done working at 62. How am I supposed to pay the bills from 62 to 70 with no check coming in? Fair. And this is where a little planning changes everything. For a lot of people, the answer is what's called a bridge. You live on your own savings for those gap years and treat the wait as buying yourself a bigger, inflation-protected, guaranteed check for life. Think about what that actually is. You're spending down some of your own money in your 60s so that every year after 70, the government pays you about 8% more, guaranteed, for the rest of your life and your spouse's. There is no annuity you can buy on the open market that reliably beats that deal. You don't need to bridge all 8 years either. Even waiting from 62 to your full retirement age, instead of jumping the gun, erases that 30% haircut. Every year you can hold off moves the needle. So if you take one thing from Walt, let it be this. Before you claim Social Security, don't ask, do I want my money now? Of course you do. Everybody does. Ask the better question. If I live longer than I expect, and someone I love has to live on this check after I'm gone, does this decision still hold up? Here's how I'd actually walk through it. 1. Be honest with yourself about your health and your family history. 2. Find your full retirement age and your benefit at 62, at full retirement age, and at 70. The Social Security website gives you all 3 for free. 3. If you're married, look at whose benefit is larger, because that's the one that becomes the survivor check. And 4. If you're anywhere near the line, run it past somebody who does this for a living, because the wrong date here doesn't cost you a little. It can cost you a house. Next time, I'm breaking down the pension decision that wrecks more retirements than Social Security ever could. The lump sum, the offer that looks like a fortune and quietly takes $300,000 off the table. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe. I put these out every week. I'm Hank. Make the decision your future self would thank you for. I'll see you in the next one.